Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast at Just Listen to One podcast. Welcome back, and I do appreciate each and one of you who are always listening to this channel of mine. And as you can tell from the title, I'm going to be talking about this individual woman named Brittany Smith, and a little bit about her and kind of where she's at right now, and so on. So let's just get right into this podcast. So Brittany Smith is a woman from Alabama who is serving 36 months sentence in Jackson County Jail for violating her parole during a drug rehabilitation. She was arrested for killing Todd Smith for annexing from her teenage years in her home in January 2018. Smith claimed she acted in self-defense after Todd raped and strangled her. In November 2020, she pleaded guilty for murder and arson, and her sentence was reduced to 36 months, and she served 18 months in prison and 18 months in her house arrest, serving credit time for the rest of her trial. And let's go on this one. What happened to Brittany Smith and where is she now? There is a Netflix latest true crime film, State of Alabama versus Brittany Smith, is available to stream and download now. Here is a little clip from it, so I'm gonna play it for you guys so you guys can kind of listen to it. It's about a minute and a half-ish long, so let's just get right into the little clip for about a minute or so.
Killing a man murdered. In Britney's case, she was charged with killing a man who she accused of raping her. I was arrested for murder. The man was in my home. She's been raped and beaten by him and almost killed, and now she's been raped and beaten by the system. Stand your ground is a self-defense law in Alabama. She had every right. She was in her own home. Are women able to use the system to defend themselves in the way that men are? I did what I thought I had to do, because if I wouldn't have my brother and I would both be dead.
I thought, if I don't take the blame, she's never going to get her kids back.
Say hi, Chris. She never should have been took to jail. I taught her to fight back with everything you've got, and she did. I love you. I want to get my children back. I want them to know that mommy's not a murderer, that mommy defended herself, and that you should always defend yourself. It shouldn't just be a law for men. Period.
And that's a little clip from the show that's on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's still there currently, but and then off of what I'm reading, the gripping documentary from the Keepers director Ryan White develops into the case of Alabama mother Brittany Smith, who admitted to shooting a man she illegally raped in her own home. Smith was ultimately charged with murder, and the documentary traces her legal battle where she planned to use the stand your ground defense. In over 30 U.S. states, it is not deemed illegal to use lethal force to defend yourself against threats or pervasive threats, including the state of Alabama, where the killing took place. The state of Alabama versus Brittany Smith raises questions about whether women in the U.S. are able to use the legal system to defend themselves in the same way that men are. Newsweek has everything you need to know about Brittany Smith and where she is now. Now I'm going to talk about what happened to her. In January 2019, Brittany Smith from Stevenson, Alabama, was allegedly attacked by a 38-year-old Todd Smith, no relation. He was a former friend of Britney and had met her as a teenager, but the pair had lost touch over the years. Just days before the shooting incident at her home, Britney had reconnected with Todd as he was a pit bull breeder and she wanted to purchase a puppy. When they met, he told Britney he was homeless and she agreed to let him stay in her home. As seen in State of Alabama versus Brittany Smith on Netflix, Britney testified to court how Todd had raped and choked her at her home in Stevenson. She then called her brother, Chris, who drove his sister to a nearby store to get cigarettes. While inside, Britney told the shop clerk about the assault and wrote Todd Smith's name on a piece of paper, telling the clerk she was found dead. Todd would be responsible. Details AL.com. When she and her brother returned to her home, Britney told her brother to go back to the shop and speak with the clerk. Soon after, he returned to Britney's home and confronted Todd with a gun in his hand. The pair got into an altercation with Todd, putting Britney's brother in a headlock and choking him. Brittany Smith told the court Todd Smith had threatened to kill her and her brother. Seconds later, she shot and killed Todd. Speaking in the documentary, Brittany told filmmaker White, "I was arrested for murder. The man was in my house. I did what I thought I had to do. Because if I wouldn't have, my brother and I both would have been dead." After the incident, a sexual assault nurse documented over 30 injuries on Britney's body, including bruises, bite marks, and signs of strangulation. However, the nurse told the court she had not determined whether Britney had been raped. The state of Alabama versus Brittany Smith reveals. She entered a non-guilty plea but admitted to shooting Todd Smith. Kitting self-defense and seeking to use the stand your ground defense. However, the judge argued that Britney did not need to use any sort of lethal force to end the altercation. The fact her brother had brought a gun into the home also portrayed himself as an aggressor in the judge's eyes. As explained in State of Alabama versus Brittany Smith, the judge accepted the injuries inflicted on Britney were consistent with physical assault and inconsistent with sexual assault. As seen in State of Alabama versus Brittany Smith, Britney was offered a plea deal by the prosecution to accept a 25-year sentence. At first, Brittany was determined not to take the plea, proclaiming she would not go to jail for a crime she did not commit. However, before she was set to stand trial in 2020, she was further indicted on a second-degree arson court for setting a fire inside a mobile home in Stevenson, risking more years being added for her sentence. As a result, on the evening of her trial in November 2020, she entered a guilty plea to murder and arson, accepting a 20-year sentence of murder of Todd Smith and 15 years of arson. The sentence was unlimitedly reduced to just 36 months with credit for the time already served, explains the Simulacus. In total, Brittany was released after 18 months behind bars and began 18 months of house arrest in May 2021. In a shocking development, after Brittany's conviction, it was revealed by Todd had various violence charges to his name, including domestic violence against women. He had been arrested total 71 times. Where is Brittany Smith now? Today, Brittany Smith, 34, is behind bars at a medium security Montgomery women facility in Alabama. Smith violated her probation on 3 occasions and was ordered to return to jail in 2 counts of violation of probation. One occasion she used someone else's urine during a drug test after she relapsed on meth on March 5th, 2020. Court documents obtained by AL.com details how Brittany Smith had notified her probation officer on October 27th, 2021 that she wished she had on candy she wished to hand out candy at a Halloween event her children were attending in. The request was denied, but she was permanently to see her children before this event. She sent the officer a text message saying that she sat in the car during the event. Oh no. What happened? Something happened. Hold on. Hold on, it might be a little bit to go back where I'm at because it just kind of glitched. Okay, there I am. She sent an officer a text message saying that she sat in a car during the event and took videos of herself to show she didn't leave the vehicle. Nevertheless, it was recommended she received a 45-day jail sentence for parole violation. According to Alabama Department of Corrections, she could be released out of prison on December 7th, 2022. And that's overall from website number 1. I am going to go on the website number 2 and read about state of Alabama versus Brittany Smith, and just like things that they didn't show or say. So let's just get right into it. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Netflix. Netflix, The State of Alabama versus Brittany Smith, a true crime documentary from the Keepers director Ryan White, follows the distress story of an Alabama mother who charged with murdering a man she said raped her. Smith's case became more forced in attention-grabbing New York investigation, in a part because Smith's invoked a stand-your-ground defense in over 30 U.S. states, including Alabama. State law makes it legal to use lethal force to defend one's against threats or even perceived threats. In this case, Smith was concerned in her own home by assault. An old acquaintance she called Todd Smith, who told Smith he killed her if she called the police. But her stand of ground defense failed. In fact, as journalist Elizabeth Floak, who serves as I don't have my glasses on, so that's probably why I'm having trouble to read. Elizabeth Flock, who serves a executive producer on the Netflix series, found women are much less likely than men to successfully invoke stand your ground. The Independent talked to Flock about many aspects of the case and moments that didn't make the film's gripping and effective 40 minutes cuts. When did the documentary start filming? Flock met Smith, who is now 34, in June of 2018, when she already entered a not guilty plea. She admitted to shoot Todd, but claimed it was self-defense. At the time, Flock was actively looking for a story like Smith's. I knew there'd be many cases of women who killed their abuser over time, and to a lesser degree, women who killed their rapists. And so I was looking for the right current case to look at what was just happening in the modern day. How much had charged? Cameras started rolling soon after they met, which explains how the documentary was able to capture the story starting long before the verdict. The arresting opening case, in which Smith invites filmmakers to look for fossils with her in the woods near her home, was among the earliest that the team shot. That was the way that she stayed sane in Jackson County, says Vlog, the collecting rocks. What happened to Brittany Smith's legal case? The documentary hews pretty close to the rhythms of Smith's protracted legal battle. At one point, Smith was offered a plea deal by the prosecution that struck me as strangling. A 25-year-old sentence, a 25-year sentence, but Flock asserts me that figure isn't an aberration. It's an absurd number, but I've seen it with a lot of cases of women who killed their abuser. Smith rejected the plea, adamant that she won't go to jail for a crime she didn't commit. But on the eve of trial, she changed her plea to guilty, accepting a 20-year sentence instead. Her time served was far less. She was sentenced to 18 months minus the year she already served awaiting trial. Who is Jeff Smith? Jeff Smith is the cousin of Todd, either of whom bear any relation to Britney, which is why it was striking that he appeared in the documentary. When I first met Jeff, he hated Britney, Flock told me, and then I saw it the day that Jeff transformed. Flock says it happened at Smith's stand, your grounded hearing. He heard the nurses ex-Meyer testify about all the different injuries on Britney, and it was sort of irrefutable, that evidence. Later, Flock says Jeff wrote Smith a note apologizing. Jeff and Todd were literally cousins, but they felt like brothers to each other. And yeah, I think if even he was saying that he sees that it was self-defense, I thought it was just really powerful. Where is Brittany Smith now? Smith still sees her children who are in foster care with her uncle throughout the documentary, according to Flock. In fact, right after the attack, Smith, who was previously addicted to meth, had just been approved for additional visitations. Now she's in a halfway house because of her relapse, but when she's out, she sees them as often as she can. She says Flock, who says in touch with the family. I think the response locally to the film has been like, well, she's a meth addict, Flock points out to me, and I think it is really important for people to understand that there are no perfect victims. That is all on that link for it, and then I'm going to read one more website about her, and then this podcast is this episode is done. Brittany Smith released from Alabama State Prison. Her supporters are still puzzled by her conviction. So let's get right into it. It falls in Scottsboro, Alabama, the heart of Jackson County. It's a quiet town, a median household income of about $43,000, but it's a rich in history. And the aftermath, one of the area's biggest court cases is still reverberating through the people who lived here. Brittany Smith has released from a state prison this month, and her conviction still confesses some of her biggest supporters. "This is a 30-year-old writing this," said Sandra Goodman of a letter she wrote about her repeated sexual assaults, which began when she was about 12 years old, was still healing. Goodman was one of Smith's biggest advocates. She wrote that letter while she in a sexual assault survivor support group during a time when she found herself in Smith's shoes. "I was 16 years old when someone finally believed me," she wrote. "There were so many times that he raped me, and I couldn't count them even if I could remember." Smith was arrested in 2018 for murdering a man who claimed was trying to rape her. She would later admitted to shooting and killing Todd Smith, but first told officers her brother was the one who's holding the gun. "My brother came here and tried to get him off of me," she told the 911 operator when she called the police about Todd's shooting. He's not going to jail. He was trying to protect me." In court films, Smith described days of torment. She testified that Todd chased her to her own bedroom and threatened to kill her. She later woke up naked in her own pee. She said Todd tried to break her neck off the side of the bed because she tried to fight him. They later ended up on the floor, and she said he strangled her until she was unconscious. She accused Todd of raping her multiple times. She told police how they later went to the gas station when she wrote a note with Todd's name on it and gave it to the clerk. "If I'm dead in the morning, this is who did it," she told the clerk. She tried to assert what's called a standard ground defense, a statute adopted by about half of states. It says if you feel threatened in your own home, you're legally able to use the same level of force to defend yourself, even if it's deadly. The judge denied her defense. The court finds the defendant was given inconsistent accounts of the events surrounding Todd's death. A judge wrote a ruling after Smith's stand your ground hearing, beginning with the 911 call on January 16th, 2018, and has attempted to alternative or distort evidence. Smith and her brother later admit to whipping off fingertips from the gun used to kill Todd. They both testified it was at the instruction of the 911 call when police arrived at the house. Smith later took a plea deal. It was sentenced a 20 years in state prison. She already served 3 years of the split sentence and was scheduled for release on December 7th. "If you can't use it in her case, I don't know what case you can use it in," said Rachel Lewis Snyder, a professor at American University and author of No Visible Bruises, What We Don't Know About Domestic Violence Could Kill Us. In her research, Lewis Snyder found as many as 90% women serving time for murder were convicted of killing people they accused of domestic violence and sexual assault. That's what we expect our victims. We expect them to be demure, said Lewis Snyder. We don't expect them to fight back. We expect them to be feminine, nice little women who got caught in a bad situation. In a new documentary now showing on Netflix, Smith explains she felt as though she had no choice but to kill Todd. The documentary makes a case for why Brittany Smith never should have been convicted for murder and why Alabama's stand your ground law failed her. At the time of her arrest, Alabama had never allowed a single woman who used stand your ground in her own defense, said Lewis Snyder. Sandra Goodman met Smith years ago, long before her conviction, when Goodman was protecting Alabama's probation process. The two became friends, eventually bond over their shared traumas. They didn't want to help Britney, said Goodman. They didn't want to believe Britney. They wanted Britney out of the streets and out of their hair. Goodman says she doesn't believe that she calls an ingrained culture in the state will ever change. But even if it does, they said it's too late for survivors like her and Brittany. When the words ends, Alabama is going to have 20 more years, she said, because that's how far behind we are. As part of Smith's plea agreement, she was placed supervised probation for 5 years. Smith's mother, Rama McClee, did not want to take part of this story, but said Smith was ordered to wear an ankle monitor when she was released from prison. And that is it for this episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode, let me know in the comments below. I would appreciate it. And if you guys want me to do some research on anybody in general, let me know in the comments, and I will do my very best to make that as an episode for you guys. And I will see you guys in the next podcast. Bye.